So I'm starting this video kind of like with not a lot of preparation, but I did have a few, I guess, kind of topics on my mind. I also kind of want to state or put it out there that I really hope that I have like the desire to kind of talk and make these videos, but a part of me feels like if it's too forced, that it's not gonna really be beneficial, I guess. Like if it's too forced or maybe even too planned too, because if you look at my channel, like especially more recently, I had like way bigger gaps between my videos. And it always felt like really good coming back to videos after some time because it felt like a good like refresh or reset. Um, but maybe, you know, I possibly may be overthinking it in that aspect, but just wanted to put that out there, you know, just to have it there. Because I almost feel like, you know, acting on the, I guess, desire to record videos too often, like I said, might lead to like less beneficial videos or less clarity maybe in the videos too. So, we'll see. But I think one of the main things I kind of just recently had a thought about, maybe like a few minutes before hitting record, was kind of like how long I've pretty much been like isolated, I guess. And there's it's not like I've not been like fully and I guess like totally isolated, but um for the most part though, like a lot of my day-to-day life is kind of just alone or just me. Um and even like, beyond day-to-day or whatnot, it's just I've kind of like I kind of just do everything alone for the most part. And I guess like what may be interesting about that is the fact that I don't really acknowledge that myself, or I never really like think about it. It's kind of just like something that it's, I don't know, for me, it's almost something that just is, and it's not something that I really like ponder too much or really like acknowledge. But recently I definitely have acknowledged it, I guess mentally a couple times, and just kind of like realized it. But yeah, I think for like many years, honestly, I've been more so I would say like experiencing life, kind of like just isolated. I would say for the most part. And yes, I still will every now and again, I guess, like hang out with people or be around people in like a non-work related setting, I guess, but it's more on the rare side. I think the majority of my life is definitely just kind of being isolated. And like I said, that's just something that I know to just be. It's kind of something that I know that just is. And I don't know if I like really, myself maybe have like a super strong opinion on it. As far as like, yeah, I guess like myself, like looking at the situation, like I don't really have like a super strong opinion on it. I think it's just kind of been like what it is, I guess. But thought it could be interesting to try to maybe like think through and acknowledge a little beyond just kind of like simply acknowledging or, just knowing that it is, I guess. Um, it's interesting, and a part of me thinks, I've seen a lot of I feel like I've seen thought pieces. I don't know if thought pieces is the right word, but like kind of just like thought type of videos of people talking about being lonely or being isolated. And I think maybe just in the modern day and age, it's more common, I guess. Uh, I feel like a lot of people may be feeling this way or maybe experiencing this as well, to varying degrees and such. But I do think that people are, in that state. Funny because I remember speaking about like, a lot of like even movies that are coming out are about like loneliness or at least like that's like a big topic, a big part of the movie, which is interesting too. It's definitely something that's being acknowledged in one way or another through like I guess like media, and I don't know if pop culture would be the right term, I guess. I don't know if I have too many thoughts on the why part. But for me, I think I've like grown pretty comfortable with it, I guess. Like it's not something that like I guess heavily bothers me if I have to be honest. I think it's one of those things that uh I don't know, like if I maybe it's one of those things that if I like could snap my fingers and I wasn't maybe from day to day being as isolated, like maybe I would do it, but maybe I wouldn't. Like I don't know. I think it's something that I guess I wonder like how other people may feel this feeling or like maybe the degree or the situation could be different because like, there's a lot of people that may on the outside be very social but in a way maybe more mentally feel isolated. So that's what isolation I guess could look like to them. And yeah, for me I think it's been like a pretty common theme in my life even like from like a younger age. I'm sure if I had maybe like some more time to really think through it, I could probably pinpoint like maybe reasonings why that is the case. But yeah, it's just been that's kind of been even not even more recently in my life, but I think like throughout my entire life, like I think that's kind of been maybe even how I felt like mentally. I'd say like even if I'm like surrounded by people or maybe from time to time I may hang out with people, like I think like I still feel this feeling of like separation, I guess, or isolation. And yeah, I mean like I said, it's not something that I like that really like eats away at me or anything super negative. But it is like interesting because because this is the case, I think thoughts pop up in my head like how is this maybe affecting me long term? How is this like even though maybe at the surface level I'm fine with it, or maybe it's not like a super big issue, it's like is this is there an underlying like I don't know if this is the right word, but like degradation that's happening, that I'm just not noticing now, but maybe in the future? Because I've definitely seen it be referenced that there's science behind um like having like a good community in your life, I guess, or like having a good sense of community or things like that, like how that can be super positive to like I mean, some people I think have suggested like your lifespan, or even like maybe like your mental health, which I could definitely see that. I could definitely see that part for sure. Um, but yeah, I think those thoughts like pop in my head, and I'm not maybe fully sure like how that may how that may be transpiring, I guess. But kind of like as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I think it's something that a lot of people either if it's like more physical related isolation or if it's like more like mentally they feel isolated from others. I feel like it's more common, and I think there's some kind of more obvious reasonings behind that. Just like technology advancing, and um, I guess like people being more as things go more and more digital, right, there's like less like pull for a lot of physical forms of like socialization, I guess. And maybe that's a reason why I think like, another reason is that I guess like to be that there's kind of like a lot of like more mental um I don't know. Like it's hard to say for certain because I'm definitely not like a researcher specifically into this. I'm just kind of giving my perspective on it. But I definitely think that like people are like as a whole, or at least like there's like a bigger percentage of people that would probably say that they feel lonely or feel isolated than like I would say like in the past. I don't have an exact like date or anything, but it's just telling. Like I said, like it's popping up more and more, like in like just um pop culture and media and people kind of discussing it, and maybe there's a chance that maybe it's always been a thing and that's always been pretty common, but just like less reported on because media wasn't as easy to kind of communicate with people via like social media and stuff. Maybe in the past. But yeah, uh not exactly sure um how isolation and maybe the feeling of loneliness, I guess, might be impacting me long term. I say that sometimes like if I'm like out in like more bigger events or social situations, like I think I do well with kind of just just having casual conversation, interacting with people, maybe putting on like a mask of extrovertness, I guess. Um, but yeah, it's like very weird because sometimes I'll say like in social situations you maybe have this like extrovert mask that's going on, and then you have your like internal voice that's like it's like two separate entities almost that are present. I want to say where like you're outwardly expressing and talking to people, but you also have like your inner voice or your inner self or whatnot, like that's kind of like viewing the situation, I guess, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's kind of I think that's kind of usually how it goes with me, and I think that that's something that isn't like super linear or maybe like super constant, I guess I'll say. But it's definitely there. And I think like most people, if not all, probably I would think would have that. I mean, I'm not fully sure. I've never really like gotten confirmation, I guess. I mean, I think like people, will talk about this thing of like when they're out and about, and then in their head they're like, oh my gosh, or like what is, like they have like this second voice going on outside of like what they're outwardly doing, that's like giving commentary on like, oh god, what I just said is horrible, or that was bad, or I don't know, something like that. And that's kind of like what I'm talking about, essentially. Maybe like I feel that more so though, like maybe that's a little bit more like there's a bigger distinction between the two for me potentially. Um but yeah, like I guess I wonder like if isolation or being more isolated affects like maybe like how I do in social situations, I guess. Or I think sometimes I do feel like, even though I feel like I do a decent job with like kind of having that extrovert type of mask, like sometimes I do feel like some sort of like a disconnect, I guess, or I don't know. Hard to explain. But there's definitely something there. But yeah, I think like just because it's been like a pretty constant theme in my life, it's just something that I've just like kind of like I said, like it just is. It's not like it's like breathing, I guess. Like um yeah. Random side note, I really really like deserts in kind of like the I'll call it like the Silver Age versions of Minecraft. Like I don't know, like they're great. And like, this type of like generation that's going on is like so wild. Like even this like village over here is just like kind of, I guess the rain may have stopped. That's why like the lighting looked a little odd. Like this is insane, but yeah, I don't know, like deserts are kind of, honestly I love deserts in Minecraft, I guess. In real life as well. Like they're like super pretty. But yeah. Um I know like usually I'm like doing things in these videos, but I kind of just felt like running around because I saw that there was a desert nearby and I kind of just wanted to like explore it a little bit. This area is pretty cool. I like it. Very nice. Although I don't think I do well with, I mean, building in general, but building in a desert, I don't even know where I would start. I'd probably just kind of do the usual like burrow in the ground and pop up every once in a while. I do notice that like people, who are maybe more or less like isolated, I guess, or have people around them more, or at least like, physically, like they're always going out. They have like planned, like scheduled, like, every week type of things that they'll go out and do with people. And one thing that I've noticed, and this is probably going to be very random, but like I feel like because they like have a bigger, I guess, social circle, they have like they get access to like more like opportunities and such. And in many different aspects, like, whether that be like traveling with people or meeting new people, stuff like that, like any sort of thing. It could be like, maybe like even like job opportunities too, stuff like that, because of like just like knowing people. That's something I think about, like, the more I'm like more isolated, I guess, like it's almost like I want to say in a way like turning the difficulty slider up on life. A little bit. It's kind of what it feels like, at least. For a lot of things. But I also like don't think that you should view, like, I want to acknowledge, like, I don't think you should view like meeting and knowing people only to like essentially get something out of it. Like, I think, you know, the weight needs to be held in the actual like connections with people and such. That's just like something that I noticed. Well, I guess like with people that do like have, who are like more connected, like with like communities and others and such. Yeah. But I guess, you know, I can't lie. Like being isolated, there's like this like peace that comes with it. For sure. Like I can say that for sure. Like there's definitely like some sort of a peace that comes along with like being isolated. At least for me, you know, and I think that that's different for everybody. Some people would go like crazy, you know what I mean? Or maybe like it's like horrible. It's not, you know, as doable, I guess. You know, I think it depends on your brain, you know, it depends on your personality. It depends, it's kind of like RNG from person to person, but um yeah, there's like a peace that comes with it. For sure. At least like in my perspective. But, you know, I'll say like even though that's the case, like, you know, from time to time, like you have thoughts like, you know, it'd be nice to like be less isolated, I guess. Because like I mean like at the root of it, like we're, you know, we're all human. Like we all, I think that's like ingrained in you know, typically. Um like wanting to be a part of like a communities, I guess, or like, you know, like not being isolated essentially. It's probably because it's linked to like survival in a sense, like in a more like primitive view, I guess, or like, you know, however you want to describe it, like it's more like it's like, yeah, because like if you like back to like, you know, caveman days, let's say, like, you know, if you're not part of a group, typically like the more numbers that you have, the more people that you have to gather food, the more people that you have to rely on for things and help each other out. You know, it's a whole like um working machine, I guess. Like I don't know the best way to put it. But yeah, like it's something that's like kind of like default settings kind of thing, you know, like it's ingrained in you. So I think I think like no matter what, like typically you are gonna have those thoughts. Like you are gonna go back to that where you're like, okay, yeah, I think I like being less isolated would be nice, you know. And you know, it's I do wonder like other people's, I guess, like kind of perspective on that, and you know how they kind of see isolation, and how they may like feel about it, or you know, like things like that. Um, yeah, I I made a video, I think, on this topic like earlier on the channel, like early on, and I did like, I think I like pulled it up for a second. I do need to like kind of watch through that and kind of see, because I am interested to see like what I was saying in that video then versus now. Maybe some similarities, maybe some not. Like I have no idea. But maybe this will be like the isolation video part 2. But yeah, those are kind of like some of my thoughts, I guess, on just like having that feeling, kind of like how I feel about it. Yeah, I think it's just something that I don't really I don't know. I don't really like think about a ton. Like I said, it's kind of just like an autopilot thing. It's just like kind of uh like it is, it just is, you know. Yeah. I really like this area, man. This is pretty cool. Like honestly, like I know that it's funny because this area probably looks like so desolate and like apocalyptic, but like to me it's like really cool. Like I don't know, that whole brutalist thing where it's like stone squarish stone structures and stuff like that. Like that's kind of cool. That's, you know, not exactly what we're looking at here, but it's just, this is like a kind of a cool like area, you know, cool generation and such. I don't know why. It's just like, I think the fact that it looks desolate and it's like more like kind of liminal is really, really cool. I'll also say that like, you know, and I don't know how much connection there is with what I was talking about, but I do really enjoy like, you know, there's a lot of like music, like more ambient type of music on YouTube. That's like, you know, a lot of it's kind of linked with like Silent Hill and stuff like that. And that type of music is like super nice, maybe even comforting, but just also kind of just like nice. And I wonder, you know, I would say that that genre slash very niche area probably equates with isolation or loneliness, just in the themes of the games that it mentions, like Silent Hill, stuff like that. So maybe there's something there, potentially. But yeah, I think I'm probably gonna end the video here. But this was cool. I liked kind of exploring this area for sure. It's a cool little area. Where I like am stationed at is like over there. But yeah. If you made it to the end of the video, appreciate it. Appreciate you for listening. If you have like, you know, any of your own thoughts on this, you know, definitely feel free to comment. But yeah, hope you have a good one. Peace.